Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Julian Grace. We're once again tracking some action developing in the tropics. Let's get right on over to meteorologist Anthony Baglione in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with the latest. Anthony.
Julian, here's a look at where we sit with this system. And so the Hurricane Center this afternoon designated this as what we call an an investigation area, which gives them the potential to run model plots on this, which we should get here over the next couple of hours. Where we sit right now, though, there's the center of this storm system. It's in the Caribbean. It's likely to form kind of in this general direction there over the next couple of days. We've already seen those chances, though, continue to get bumped up from the Hurricane Center. They're up to 40% now over the next 2 days. That was at 0. And so we're now seeing it also at a high chance over the next 7. Here is where it could form over the next 7 days, but it looks like the most likely area is kind of on the southern edge of that box right there, that outline, if you will. Here is a look at some of the initial model plots coming in. We'll get a lot more here as we go through the next couple of days. It does look, though, like a track there into the Gulf Coast, into the panhandle of Florida is pretty likely. Where it goes from there and kind of what strength it could potentially be, that's yet to be determined. But we're going to be watching it closely, Julian. We're going to talk more about this storm system, though, and many rain chances headed our way here at home coming up in a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Anthony. Breaking news at 6. Several senior campaign officials for Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson have reportedly stepped down. This comes in the wake of a CNN report that linked Robinson to numerous posts made to a pornographic website's message board that were sexually explicit and racist. Megan Glova is in the WRAL Live Center with the latest on this developing story. Megan.
Yeah, Julian, we did just break this story right here on WRAL.com. Now, our NC Capitol team confirms 4 departures, including a campaign manager, deputy campaign manager, finance director, and the campaign's senior advisor. We have reached out to Robinson's campaign for comment. We have not heard back yet, but he did say in a press release, quote, "I appreciate the efforts of these team members who have made the difficult choice to step away from the campaign. I wish them well in their future endeavors and look forward to announcing new staff roles in the coming days."
Lots of questions around that one. Thank you, Megan. A UNC student reported missing has been found dead, according to multiple South African news sources. 20-year-old Brooke Chevrant was in the country for an internship. She was found dead after she had been hiking near Cape Town. WRAL's Carly Haynes talked with people Chevrant worked with at the Moorhead Planetarium. And Carly, what did they share about her this evening?
Well, Julian, they said they lost a remarkable person. She was missing for 26 hours on this hike before she was found dead today. Those South African news outlets report the 20-year-old was found by a search party on Devil's Peak near Cape Town. She was last seen on a hike there by herself yesterday at noon. An autopsy is going to be performed to determine how she died. According to her travel social media page, she had been in South Africa for more than a month for an internship with Justice Desk Africa. She was a Moorhead Kane Scholar at UNC Chapel Hill from Newland, North Carolina, and she also worked at the Moorhead Planetarium. The director there recalls how genuine and intelligent she was, and he remembers the last conversation he had with her.
She was talking about how excited she was, maybe a little nervous about traveling to South Africa, but also how we would miss her and she'd miss us and she'd miss being on campus, but she was excited about the opportunities and the possibilities, and had no idea, of course, none of us did, that we wouldn't see her again.
Before attending UNC, she was a student at Avery County High School, where she was the valedictorian of her graduating class. We reached out to UNC Justice Desk Africa and South African police agencies to see if we could get more information about the circumstances behind her death. Carly Haynes, WRAL News, live in Chapel Hill.
So heartbreaking. The North Carolina Museum of Art was closed for a second day after a social media threat. WRAL's Laura Levine spoke with visitors who were unaware as authorities are searching for the person responsible.
Several people were hoping to spend their day here at the North Carolina Museum of Art, but instead they were welcomed with this sign, a safety precaution after the museum received a social media threat.
I was hoping to see some artwork, maybe go into the gallery and see a couple of paintings.
Visitor after visitor after visitor, excitedly walking up to the museum, tugging on doors and looking inside.
I thought it was like some holiday I wasn't aware of or something.
Pretty chill day. This is our first date.
Aww.
I know. And it's like a good one. And we were hoping to go walk around the art museum.
We came because she had an assignment for school, and then we had to take a picture of something with her in it.
People turning up for a variety of different plans immediately became confused, shocked, and disappointed when learning why it was locked up for the day.
I mean, it hits home. Like, you know, you read like the headlines about this happening elsewhere, and then it's like when it's actually your like hometown and one of your favorite spots, it's just like, that sucks.
It makes me feel really bad because museums are always just a place to, like, I don't know, be happy, experience art, you know, coming together as one. And then having that be threatened by someone.
A spokesperson with State Capitol Police tells me State Capitol Police and the State Bureau of Investigation is investigating the threat first communicated on Saturday afternoon. The museum and surrounding park was evacuated so that law enforcement could search the area. She says, out of an abundance of caution, the museum remains closed after officials determined there was no immediate danger. What was kind of going through your mind?
It's kind of scary.
Today, the park still remained open. However, after traveling visitors learned what was going on, they immediately called a lift, concerned for their safety.
It just makes you feel like there's really no place that's safe, like even such like a wholesome, wonderful place like NCMA, and obviously it can happen anywhere.
The museum plans to reopen on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Capitol Police is investigating the origin of this threat. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Raleigh.
A 7-year-old died this morning, days after he was shot. Burlington police say the boy was sitting outside his apartment on Thursday when he was shot as a bystander. The police department says there were more than a dozen people there at the time of the shooting. 18-year-old Tremaine Armstrong and 21-year-old Camonte Crosby have been arrested in connection to the shooting. Police say they are still seeking additional information in this case and want to speak to every single person that was there. If you know something or know someone who does, you can leave an anonymous tip with Crime Stoppers. Tips that lead to an arrest could be eligible for a cash reward. Raleigh police say a man was shot multiple times near Capitol Boulevard this morning. It happened at a hotel on Brentwood Road. The shooting took place there at about 7:30 in the morning. Police say they have a possible suspect in their custody. We're working to learn more about both the victim and also the suspect. Durham police are investigating what they're calling a suspicious death. Officers responded to a call shortly after 4 in the morning and found a man dead on East Markham Avenue. The road was closed for hours from North Roxborough Street to Vista Street while crews investigated. We do not yet know the man's name or the cause of death. One man was killed and another was hurt at a shooting on Edge Hill Road in Fayetteville. Police arrived at a home around 10:30 last night to find the two men with gunshot wounds. Both were taken to the hospital, but one of them died from his injuries. The other is expected to be okay. The WRAL breaking news tracker was there as police investigated at this home and in front of a nearby shopping center on Skybow Road. A suspect has not yet been identified. This is the third double shooting in Cumberland County this weekend. Police in Rocky Mount are investigating a homicide. They got a shot spotter alert around midnight on South Grace and Clyde Streets. It was there where they found 28-year-old Daquan Williams shot and unresponsive. He died on the scene. A kayaker found skeletal remains along the Hall River in Chatham County. This is what else we found out. The sheriff's office confirmed that human bones were found on the riverbank on Saturday, and a thorough search continued into Sunday. Now, with the help of cadaver dogs and the Nash County Sheriff's Office, additional bones were found in the area. The medical examiner is working to help identify the remains and determine the cause of death. In Raleigh, the DOT demolished the old eastbound Beltline bridge over Hillsborough Street this weekend. It is now down. Hillsborough Street at I-440 is closed until 5 tomorrow morning. Drivers will now use a new bridge, and the DOT plans on widening the lanes to ease traffic. The DOT says that widening project should be finished early next year. Well, this is the week the massive phase 1 of the 540 project will finally be open to traffic. We know you're ready for this. Phase 1 will extend the existing Triangle Expressway between the Highway 55 bypass and I-40. The DOT will celebrate the project with a ribbon cutting ceremony on Wednesday and will open to traffic the day after at 6 a.m. The project was pushed back because of Tropical Storm Debbie. The final phase of the project will hopefully be open in 2028. That's the 11-mile stretch of the Eastern Wake Expressway. Both phases are toll roads. This is the first day of fall and it provided near perfect weather for the Carolina Hurricanes 5K run. Just see for yourself. Coming up, we'll explain how this annual event benefits the community at large. Also ahead, find out when you can once again order free COVID tests from the federal government. It is the first day of fall, and here's a beautiful look at Carolina Beach. Where is everybody? All right. Well, welcome back. The Carolina Hurricanes Foundation hosted the 11th annual Canes 5K today. Participants gathered at the Lenovo Center to run around the arena and surrounding area. There was also kid dashes, inflatables, and appearances from current and former players, team staff, and of course, Stormy. Gotta have Stormy, right? The Carolina Hurricanes Foundation provides grants for local nonprofits that help meet the health and educational needs of children with a focus on the underserved communities and populations and to strengthen youth hockey in the community. The ROCC Foundation hosted a Community Unity Day in Goldsboro today. The event featured vendor booths, employment opportunities, free clothes, shoes, free health screenings, community resources, prizes, and much, much more. This is the third year they've hosted a Unity Day. Today, the group World Mission Society Church of God hosted a community park beautification with the mayor and the city of Fayetteville. The Fayetteville chapter of the group joined tens of other clubs along the East Coast tackling the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. The work today was done at Woodrow Park on Wilson Street. Teens in North Carolina and across the country are vaping. I know this is not new to you, but this is something that really caught our attention. A brand new WRAL documentary aims to find out how kids are getting their hands on products, what lawmakers are doing to protect our children, and how so many teenagers became addicted. WRAL investigative documentary reporter Kristen Severin spent months speaking with dozens of kids, asking them about the problem, from fruity flavors to advertisements meant to get teens to buy their products. She found out how these companies were able to appeal to young people.
I can see now vape products have Bluetooth connection or even Wi-Fi that students can connect to.
I even saw a vape that looked like a USB stick.
I mean, why are they making vapes that look like Yoda? Why are they making a vape that looks like a highlighter marker or goes inside a hoodie?
As a parent, this is so frightening but informative. The documentary also highlights why policymakers need to tackle this issue now and expose a loophole in new vaping legislation. Watch Gen V, Teen Vaping in North Carolina, Thursday, September 26th at 7:30 or on WRAL.com. You will be able to order free COVID tests from the federal government later this month. Each household can order up to 4 nasal swab tests once the federal program reopens. The U.S. Health and Human Services Agency has not given an exact date when the ordering can begin. You can find the details of how to order the test on WRAL.com. Just search COVID tests. Anthony, what a beautiful day to be out in Chapel Hill and just looking at Franklin Street. I know people are out there enjoying the evening.
Yeah, that first day of fall for us. And it really didn't feel like it necessarily, Julian, but I do think as we get into the morning tomorrow and through the next couple of days, our temperatures will kind of be more reminiscent of where we should be for this time of the year. Good evening, though, to all of you. Hopefully you had a great weekend. Let's get us outside to this beautiful shot right there. You can see our Chapel Hill camera. Everything moving along smoothly. No rain expected for us tonight. We should be good to go here as we get into this evening. Temperatures, though, there's a bit of a wide range. We've had kind of a weakening cold front come through, if you will. 76 is where we're at in Raleigh, 86 though in Fayetteville. It's relatively not that far of a distance there to get that big of a temperature spread. 72 in Roxborough, 84 there in Southern Pines. When we look at our dew points, that measure of the moisture in the air, how does it feel? Is it uncomfortable? Is it gross feeling, or does it feel all right? Dew points there in the low to mid 60s in Roxborough are looking just fine. But you get a dew point of 74, 70s here for our southern counties, certainly feeling pretty muggy. So there's kind of a spread across the area. We get into tonight, though, it should feel pretty comfortable for the majority of us. 62, how about that? Lewisburg, 59 in Roanoke Rapids, so it'll be a little bit more fall-like tomorrow morning. 68 in Fayetteville is our wake-up temperature Monday morning. 67 there in Irwin. 66 is where we head tomorrow morning in Clinton. Here's Futurecast. So generally speaking, we're pretty calm. We don't have any major storm systems on the way. We'll see some clouds filling on in for us tonight. Could be a little bit of fog, but overall really not a big factor for us for the morning commute. 8 o'clock in the morning, just fine. No problems here out the door as you're heading off to work, school, just enjoying the start to your Monday. There is a little bit of moisture, though, back to the west. Most of that will start to fizzle as it gets into our area. We have some pretty dry air in place overall. Tomorrow afternoon and evening, though, there's 6 o'clock. Some of that may try and stick with us, and especially this time, probably about even later than this time, 11 o'clock tomorrow night, we may get some storms to start forming. So that's something we'll be watching. No severe weather or anything like that expected, but just a more unsettled pattern for the upcoming week. Let's talk about the tropics because we have a lot to talk about here with this potential system that we've been watching. What's happening here currently, it's what we call the Central American Gyre. It's a very fancy term for essentially saying if you think of a big gigantic top in the atmosphere, how they spin and kind of rotate around, that's what's going on in this general direction. And it's flinging some moisture, some low pressure areas up into the Gulf of Mexico. That is what's going to happen here the next couple of days and potentially form. Some of the models are showing a very strong storm system here. So this is something we'll watch for our friends down the Gulf Coast. This is one model. It's the American model. We also have the European that we look at, but this one is doing a generally good job of showing this. Tuesday morning, there's a look at 8 o'clock. So you can see the center of that storm system getting into the Gulf of Mexico by the time we get to the middle part of the week. This is shown as a hurricane at that point. We take this forward, and I am not going to take this all the way to landfall because this is still going to shift. So it's not locked in quite yet, but the majority of these are showing along the Florida Gulf Coast as a hurricane, potentially a strong hurricane. So that's something we will watch. Our impacts would just be some rain next weekend. We are not looking at major impacts from that. 81 for us tomorrow, 78 on Tuesday, 83 Wednesday. Julian, we do have some scattered storms through the week, but again, no hurricanes for us. We will watch that storm system though in the Gulf.
Thanks, Anthony. Lewis, there were so many storylines on this football Sunday.
Truly, Julian, it's so great to see it get started. And, with NFL Week 3, I think what we know after the game so far today is that we know nothing, really. Surprising results coming up. Plus, hear Pat Welcher's take on UNC football after giving up 70 points to James Madison. That's next in sports. 24 hours later, and UNC's loss to James Madison is still hard to wrap your mind around. A loss to a sneaky good group of 5 teams, it happens. But giving up 70 points at home, that's a different story. WRAL Sports' Pat Welcher covered the game on Saturday and watched it all happen at Kenan Stadium. He gives his take on where the Tar Heels go from here.
I guess you got to give credit to Mack Brown for owning this one, and I do. And Mack Brown has owned all of his missteps the last couple of years at UNC, from all the defensive issues they've had to underperforming talent to the finishes. He's changed the coaching staff. He's tried to change the culture. And yet here we are again, a new low here in Mack Brown Part 2.
Embarrassing day, shocking day. You shouldn't be at North Carolina and lose to a Group of 5 team, period. There are no excuses.
So it leaves you frustrated. It leaves you kind of sad. But I think right now, this is the kind of loss where who else are you going to get rid of on this staff? How many coordinators is he going to hire? How many coordinators is he going to fire? He said it in the press conference. I've signed everybody on this roster. I've hired everybody on this roster. It's on me. And I think that gives you a lease now, if you're somebody like Bubba Cunningham, to take a hard look after the season at what else is out there. We've seen all these coaches retire. We've seen all these coaches retire here. Anson Torrance, Karen Shelton, these greats, these legends, deciding that, the way college sports is going, maybe they've had enough. Mack Brown went the opposite approach entering this season. He dug his toes in. He wants to figure out this NIL thing. He wants to figure out this new edition of college football and get Carolina over that hump. After a loss like today, it feels like to me like it's never going to happen. And yeah, I don't know if the grass is greener, but it might be worth looking into resodding the foundation.
To the NFL we go. A battle of unbeaten Chargers versus Steelers. Justin Fields has been playing pretty well. Watch him thread the needle here to Calvin Austin, who does the rest. 55 yards to the house. Pittsburgh stays perfect, beats LA 20-10. Fields had 245 passing yards, a touchdown in the air, and a touchdown on the ground. Eagles versus Saints. Derek Carr and the Saints have been scoring points like crazy. Check out this toe tap by Chris Olave. 2 feet in. What a play. Saints take the lead with 2 minutes left. Jalen Hurts is going to find Dallas Goedert here trying to take it back. The tight end had 10 catches for 170 yards. Excuse me. Saquon Barkley finishes it off. He had 2 touchdowns. Eagles win this defensive slugfest 15-12. Speaking of defense, the Broncos came to play against the Bucs. But first, look at Jaleel McLaughlin. Oh my goodness! Replay, please. Watch what he does Watch what he does to this man and to my voice. Apparently, touch earth. Buccaneers finished with only 223 total yards and 2 turnovers. Broncos are winless no more. They beat the Bucs 26-7. And by the way, don't forget, tonight on WRAL, you can catch Sunday Night Football. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs face the Atlanta Falcons, fresh off their last-minute comeback on Monday Night Football, Julian.
Yeah, football is so exciting. And you know what? Those Panthers, they're looking a little better.
We'll have more coverage of that coming up on Fox 50 and WRAL later tonight, but in the third quarter, they have a pretty significant lead. Andy Dalton doing his thing.
Yeah, hopefully they can be able to sustain that. All right, thanks, Lewis, and thank you for joining us. NBC News is next. Our next newscast is on Fox 50 at 10, and we'll see you back here after the Chiefs and Falcon game ends. Have a good night.